A centralized network must have a centralized governance. Here you can see a database and server is on the cloud or maybe somewhere on the premise of the organization, which is 100% controlled by one entity or established in shape of just a single server. Now, any request which is coming from the from any kind of a user laptop or mobile, this request usually come from them through the internet, and then the request goes directly to the server. And if server can respond back, then they will receive this information and they can view it on their browser or on their mobile. So this is how the application usually comes in, and you can view this data. The only thing here is, if you look at the centralized control server, is there is only one server. There is no backup server, there is no backup line, which means that tomorrow if it is crash, then the entire request of these users will be will see that page not found, or they will see that server they will not able to communicate with the server because it's unavailable. So this is the problem when we talk about a central server or central network application which is running, and there is no backup line, or there is no handling. This could also happen. For example, imagine this server is working fine, but because of this a lot of traffic is coming, and then because of this overload request, the server is shut down by itself, or maybe it's hanged, or maybe it unable to respond or timeout. Something could happen because of this huge requests coming from the internet. So this happens usually in a centralized network. Now imagine a distributed network, which usually all kind of these companies like PayPal, Facebook, YouTube, and almost all application, they follow the distributed network so that they can divide their processing or data processing into different server. For example, a request is coming from any user and they wanted to see Facebook page. They can see this Facebook page from maybe one server, but if one server is down, then the other server can send this data, or maybe the third one can give this data, or maybe the other one will give maybe process some of the information for him, because it's a distributed network. So distributed computing is happening on the cloud. So this is mostly all these companies they are using. So that way a user will not see any kind of timeout, they will not see page not found, and these kinds of issues or errors when they are working with it. The only problem here is, since it is under a central governance, tomorrow if a US government decides that okay, they wanted to shut down the entire Facebook because Facebook is under US law, so everyone needs to obey, and this mean that entire system will shut down, or maybe these three servers that we can see. I mean, hypothetically, imagine that Facebook has only three servers, and if they are shut down, then you cannot access any kind of data then afterward. So which means that you have no rights, you have no control, because it's a control by one single entity. So they have the power to shut down whenever they want, or if they want to. It's the same concept like in the centralized version, where a company decides to shut down, or maybe because of the backup line they don't have, it is crash, or maybe it's timeout because of the too much high traffic. So these are the two networks we have discussed. One is centralized network, and the other one is distributed network. Now let's discuss about the decentralized network. In the decentralized network, you can call maybe a peer-to-peer network as well, because every node can be a client and a server at the same time. For example, if you look at these early 2000 application like Napster, Kazaa, or even BitTorrent, which was created after 2001 and still people are still using it, or EMEO. So these application allows you to connect with those user who have maybe the image or music which you want, or maybe the data you want. So you can connect with their system and you can download. At the same time, these all systems can request each other and can possess the same data or same music or information, or whatever they wanted to have in terms of data. When I say data, it can be music, image, or any file. So they can possess this image or file in every single server that is connected with this network. So this is more like a decentralized network, which means that if one of them, imagine this computer is connected with this node, and it is downloading maybe mp3 file, but suddenly for some reason it is crashed, or maybe the user, he shut down his computer. So now it needs to download again the same file. The same file is supposed to be exist on another server. So he can this can start asking the same file which was paused because he shut down his system. So he can resume the same download from the other server. So, or maybe if he shut down his server within between the downloading of this client, then it can ask to another server if it has the same data or file. So the concept of this peer-to-peer network is really fascinating because there is no central governance involved. So shutting down one server doesn't mean that it will shut down everything, and this is where the beauty comes in. So this is a peer-to-peer network, no centralized server, and so on. And this is a decentralized network, how it works. Now let's talk about the blockchain network. How does it work? Now a blockchain network is based on main the concept of the blockchain network is again decentralized governance, no centralized application, but at the same time it's a peer-to-peer connectivity with different nodes, and every node may have distributed ledger, which means that the data is inside their distributed ledger, which is immutable, and a server or a node which is running, and this server can have the client which can be connected by another node for the data, and they all request the same data and make sure that every single node have the same data. So tomorrow if one of them dies or one of them is gone, the other one would have the same data still remain. And if new data comes in, then all of these nodes, they will possess the same data by making by synchronizing with each and every single node. So this is how blockchain network or no centralized governance here comes in. I will discuss this more in detail when we will talk about the public blockchain and a private blockchain network. How does it work, especially from the architectural point of view. But here just I wanted to give an overview about that how decentralized governance works in.